Molly O'Brien has been red hot for the women's soccer team, earning some weekly accolades. We will catch you up on all the women's soccer action. Hello, I'm Tegan Lamont.
And I'm Dana Pecora. Field hockey has a big conference weekend ahead of them, so we will preview what the matchups are going to look like. You're watching LaSalle TV's home for Explorer Athletics, SportsLine.
Welcome to SportsLine. I had the opportunity to sit down with junior diver Blake Griffith in this week's edition of On the Sidelines to get schooled in the art of diving.
And later, we will welcome a special guest to SportsLine for this week's Explorer Report segment.
But first, let's take a look at our SportsLine top 3.
For this week's number 1, we had to go with the number 1 scorer on the women's soccer team, Molly O'Brien. O'Brien earned the title of A10 Offensive Player of the Week for recording 10 points this weekend on 4 goals and 2 assists. The sophomore started the game against St. Bonaventure with a goal before setting up teammate Madison Bauer and ending with her second goal of the game. Then, against Rhode Island, O'Brien matched her number for another 5-point game to end the weekend. We'll talk more about O'Brien and the women's soccer team later on in recaps.
Number 2, field hockey's Amanda Chapin continued her excellent start to the season as she was named the Phila FH Student Athlete of the Week. Chapin scored 3 goals in her 3 games this week and added 3 assists to boot. Chapin is not new to accolades as she has been named to the Atlantic 10 Commissioner's Honor Roll and is a ZAG Field Hockey Scholar of Distinction for achieving a GPA of 3.9 or higher.
For number 3, we're going to send it off to Steven Silvestro.
On Saturday, October 6th, the new men's basketball head coach, Ashley Howard, held a coaching clinic for local Philadelphia area high school coaches. Coaches were able to watch a full practice including shooting drills and team competition-based drills. While leading practice, Coach Howard went over the purpose of many drills and answered any questions any of the coaches had. For SportsLine, I'm Steven Silvestro.
Before we head into recaps, we have some news to share regarding assistant men's basketball coach Kenny Johnson. On Tuesday, October 9th, Johnson was accused of bribing a recruit at Louisville, where he served as an assistant coach until his dismissal in November 2017. The recruit's father, Brian Bowen Sr., testified on Tuesday that he met Johnson twice in 2017. In that testimony, Bowen claimed he received $1,300 from Johnson, which was intended to help the family pay rent after they relocated to Louisville to manage their son's career. An FBI investigation alleged that Louisville offered $100,000 to the Bowen family for their son to play for them. Johnson was one of many new coaches hired this past spring and is known in college basketball for being a top-tier recruiter. LaSalle is currently monitoring this situation, and we will continue to update this story as it develops in the coming weeks. And now on to recaps.
The women's soccer team defeated the winless St. Bonaventure last week in an easy 3-0 competition. Sophomore Molly O'Brien scored 2 of the 3 goals and tallied a total of 4 shots. Madison Bauer netted the other goal for the Explorers after a feed from O'Brien. Junior Jess Shanahan recorded 2 assists in the game, which is a career best for the midfielder. The Blue and Gold then took to the field against Rhode Island, who are also winless in the season. Bauer registered 7 shots and found the back of the net once to open the scoring. O'Brien scored twice later in the game, and Shanahan scored the final goal to give the Explorers the 4-0 victory.
On Saturday, men's soccer took on St. Louis in A10 play. The Explorers got off to a hot start when freshman Sam DeCencio scored his first career goal in the 10th minute. St. Louis would tie up the score in the 21st minute with a goal from John Klein. Only 2 minutes later, another freshman, Fridtjof Andberg, would get his first career goal and put LaSalle back on top 2-1. But after halftime, the game would take a downward turn for the Blue and Gold. John Klein got his second goal of the game, once again tying the score at 2-2. The Billikens then took their first lead of the game late in the second half with a goal from Leo Noves in the 83rd minute. St. Louis would seal the deal with the final goal in the 90th minute by Brandon Santel, making the final score 4-2. The men's team then took on George Mason at home, making his SportsLine debut. Vin Lee has the coverage.
On Wednesday, October 10, 2018, the LaSalle men's soccer team took on George Mason. The Explorers came out with a great defensive start. The two teams traded possessions without allowing a goal before the Explorers' defense started to slow down and the Patriots' offense became too overwhelming. Scoring in the 20th minute, the Patriots would put another one in before halftime despite goalie Cameron Key's deflection. In the second half, the Patriots held possession of the ball for most of it and knocking in their third goal to seal the game. The soccer game ended in an ugly 3-0 loss. For SportsLine, I'm Vin Lee.
The field hockey team took on the Crusaders of Holy Cross University at the Philadelphia Classic. Junior Amanda Chapin scored the first goal of the game, giving the Explorers a 1-0 lead. However, Holy Cross crusaded, literally, adding 3 goals to end the half at 3-1. In the second half, senior Mackenzie Karcher and junior Lauren Leckleitner gave the Crusaders a wake-up call as they took the lead 4-3. The Crusaders found the cage towards the end of the half and tied the matchup at 4. Neither team was able to break the tie at the end of regulation, so it sent the game into overtime. However, Holy Cross scored first and ended the hard-fought game by a score of 5-4.
The volleyball team took on St. Louis at home. Isaiah Clark has your recap.
Friday night, LaSalle went head-to-head with St. Louis in A10 play. The Explorers started off a dominant first set, getting a 9-point rally to make the lead 11-3. Freshman Elizabeth Osborne had 4 kills as the Explorers easily took the first set, 25-11. The second set would be closely contested as after a 5-1 start by the Billikens, the lead was never more than 3 points. An attacking error by St. Louis's Maya Taylor would be the final point as LaSalle took the set, 28-26. St. Louis narrowly escaped a sweep by winning the third set by a score of 27-25. The blue and gold would quickly rebound and took the fourth and final set with a score of 25-21. Junior Devin Cora finished with 17 kills. Junior Catherine Wood had 49 assists and continues to lead the A10 in assists. For SportsLine, I'm Isaiah Clark.
The women then snapped their 4-game winning streak after being swept by Dayton. From the start, the Explorers struggled against Dayton's outside hitter, Lauren Bruns. Bruns quickly got things going for Dayton and led them to a 25-14 win. LaSalle got their momentum back in the second set and went on a 4-point run. Madison Kutch had 6 kills in that set, which brought the score to 22-17. LaSalle would add another 2 points to the board, but it was not enough and the Explorers lost 25-19. LaSalle fought hard in the third set. Madison Kutch dominated the court and helped her team inch closer to Dayton. LaSalle eventually caught up to Dayton and brought the score to 23-19, but Dayton added another 2 points to give them the lead and a 25-21 win.
The men's water polo team fell to 2 quality opponents this weekend. The Explorers traveled to Bucknell to take on the 20th-ranked Bison in a rematch of an earlier loss for LaSalle. This weekend turned out to be a similar fate for the Blue and Gold, who fell 22-9. Sophomore Cole Strossen led in scoring for the Explorers with 2 goals, 5 steals, 3 exclusions drawn, and a block. Next up, the Explorers hosted the Wagner Seahawks, who are undefeated in MAC play this year. Wagner ran away with the match quickly, defeating LaSalle 24-5, despite a solid effort from freshman Robert Green, who had 2 goals and 2 steals.
The men's tennis team returned to the court in the Fordham Invitational. Senior Francesco Mauri and sophomore Rogelio Gonzalez led off the Explorers, moving swiftly past the top players from Fairleigh Dickinson and Concordia to advance to the semifinals on both sides of the A bracket. Gonzalez faced FDU's Mehdi Dawib, where he fell in straight sets 6-2, 6-2. Mauri on the other side faced Fordham's Max Green and kept up the pressure. leading his way to the finals and a chance to exact revenge for Gonzalez. Mowry stayed on top, taking the game and winning the A draw. In doubles action, Mowry and Gonzalez were not as successful, losing to an FDU pair that included Dawib in the second round.
It's been a big week for the men's golf team as freshman Dragon Thiem secured a first-place individual finish at the Bucknell Invitational. Contending with 95 other participants out on the course, Thiem is the first to bring an individual win home for the Explorers since March 2016. Not only that, but his two-day total of 133 strokes is now in the record books as the lowest score ever attained by an Explorer in 36-hole play. On top of that, Thiem's 7-under par finish is now the best score recorded at the Bucknell tournament in its 16-year history. The Blue and Gold finished 8th as a team in the Invitational. Additional support was provided by sophomore David Kim and freshman Matthew Werner, who tied for second on the LaSalle team. Well, not yet. I'm jumping the gun here. All right, so we need to talk about women's soccer.
Yeah.
Because we saw them as a powerhouse last year. They won the Atlantic 10 championship. They really were just great. But the start to this year we didn't really see what we kind of expected.
Yep.
Now with their wins, they're moving to 8th. They're moving up to 8th place, which is just enough to get them into the playoffs. So that's good. They're holding on. But the only two people we are really seeming to hear from are Molly O'Brien, who's a sophomore, and Madison Bauer.
Yep.
Molly O'Brien has just completely dominated for the team.
And the combination of the two has really worked out for the team. I think like on 4 goals in the 2 games that we talked about, O'Brien assisted for Bauer or Bauer assisted for Bryan. So,
exactly. In the same Bonaventure game, within minutes of each other, O'Brien scored a goal from Bauer's assist, and then about a couple minutes later, Bauer scored a goal from O'Brien's assist.
Right.
And then in the URI game, same thing. Bauer goal from O'Brien assist, and then O'Brien goal from Bauer assist. So it's great that they're working together, and they seem to have a great connection because we saw that connection with Madison and her sister Macy last year.
Yep, and that's something they've been really missed this year is
Yeah.
not having the scoring going. If they can pick that scoring up again, they could end up back where they were last year. That's their recipe for success is to put the ball in the net.
Yeah, and Macy, hopefully, I think should be back next year. She redshirted this year, so it's nice to see Molly stepping in and kind of taking on that offensive role.
Yep.
All right, well, now it's finally time for our first break. But when we come back, Tegan has an interview with junior diver Blake Griffith. Stay tuned.
Tell me you didn't watch the Phillies game last night.
You know, unfortunately I did, and it was just so heartbreaking to see the first 8 batters strike out.
Claude Giroux hasn't done anything for this organization.
I'm confused. You're doing an internship in sort of marketing and production, right?
I really can't believe that Ben Simmons won't be dropping 3s on the court this year.
Hey, Tanya, I know you're really busy, but could you tell me who the Sixers play on October 28th? Doctor, in order for the Eagles to win this week, they're going to need 250 passing yards from Carson Wentz. We're going to need 100 yards rushing. I don't care who it is. We're going to need a lot of good production from our tight end and wide receivers. And I'm going to need 5 interceptions from Malcolm Jenkins. Yeah, Mom, look, I know the money situation isn't good right now, but I promise you Travis Konechny's going to have a breakout year.
Hey, I had to climb to the top of Mount Everest to find Nick Pavetta's ERA.
Sports Talk Philadelphia. We talk nothing but sports all the time.
Welcome back. This week, I got to sit down with Blake Griffith of the men's swimming and diving team. Take a look. Welcome to another edition of On the Sidelines. I'm here with men's swimming and diving diver, Blake Griffith. Blake, thanks for being here.
Thanks.
So I just want to jump right into it. We know that you're about halfway through your season right now. What are your goals for the rest of the year?
Probably to get on the podium at the Atlantic 10 championship, and then also there's NCAA zones, so I'd like to qualify for that. Yeah, basic goals.
Yeah. So you talked about getting on the podium for the Atlantic 10 championship. You did that last year. Talk about how that success has built for you for this year, or given a foundation for you.
Yeah, I was pretty unexpected when I got on the podium. Third, I wasn't expecting that, and then I just basically just staying with that kind of mentality and training as I did last year. I'd really like to carry that over into this year, which was I just trusted my coach and kind of went along with it and didn't think too much about training and didn't get in my head. So I'd like to continue that.
Yeah. You talked about your coach there. How has he helped you grow? How has he helped you become a better diver in your time here at LaSalle?
Yeah, my coach is Steve Cuttriff, and then the head overall coach is Jamie Platt, and so I get a lot of support from both of them. And Steve, I don't know, diving's one of those sports where you kind of have to trust your coach a lot when they push you to do things that you might not want to do, but do them anyway. So yeah, I think we work really well together, and I'm just excited for another year.
A little push is always a good thing for athletes, especially from a coach that knows what he's talking about. So I know literally nothing about diving at all. Can you tell me what your signature or favorite dive is and what it is?
Yeah, I like they're called twisters. So when you're doing a flip, you twist at the same time, and that's my favorite category because there's different categories. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's
very technical, and I don't understand any of it.
It's pretty confusing.
Yeah.
It takes a while to explain, so we don't got the time. But
so you have a meet coming up this week. Do you have any expectations for that, or where you expect to finish in that?
Yeah, it's a pretty chill meet for the beginning of the season, so I think it's kind of just, getting back into it and being with the team, and yeah, I'm excited and definitely going to put my best face forward and
just kind of go out and get a little start to your season.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. So now you're an upperclassman. Have you felt like you've had to take on a leadership role with the team?
Yeah, definitely, specifically to the divers, just because the two seniors left last year, and now I'm the oldest as a junior, and then there's a bunch of freshmen. So yeah, I really like it, and they're all really cool, and definitely trying to keep them positive and having a good time and not get too worried and stressed out being a student athlete, because it's kind of hard in the beginning as a freshman. Right.
So you get 2 years of being the big guy on the team, huh? You get 2
Yeah.
years of being the oldest.
Yeah, and I'm used to being kind of the younger one, because I don't know, I definitely looked up to the two seniors that left last year.
Right.
So definitely a different role for me this year. But
have you faced any struggles taking on that leadership role? Anything that's been kind of an issue or something that you had to overcome as a leader now with people looking up to you?
No, yeah. I mean, it's definitely, just, I guess, yeah, being any type of like role model is a little difficult, but right. I don't think I'm also a role model, so I don't know. I'm just, yeah, just keeping a good team mentality and having a good time, and also making sure you're having fun also. That's just all I emphasize as an upperclassman on the diving team.
Gotcha. So you talked about the struggles of being a student athlete. We have come to ask this of pretty much every athlete we have on now. We know about you as the athlete now. We've talked about that. But how about the student side of you? What's your major? What are you looking forward to after LaSalle, that type of thing?
Yeah, I'm a communications major and mass media track, so definitely want to work in TV or film. And I'm from California, so I'd probably maybe like to go back to LA or something. I like cities too, so I don't know. Still got some more to figure out though.
Gotcha. You just said you're from California, so I think a lot of the producers here were wondering, why did you come to LaSalle? What brought you here?
Definitely for sports at first. I wouldn't have found out about LaSalle if it wasn't for sports, but I really liked the city aspect, and my sister lives in New York, so I've been to visit her on the East Coast, so I just wanted a different experience for a while in college.
Gotcha. What got you into diving as a young one?
Yeah, I was a gymnast, and then a lot of divers go from gymnastics to diving, but it was just gymnastics was pretty demanding lifestyle, so I stopped that around 13, and then had all these kind of like unique skills of flipping and stuff. So then I just carried that over into diving, and it was a pretty good transition.
Gotcha.
But that's pretty common for divers. Like they start out as gymnasts and then become divers, and it's less demanding in the beginning, but it's fun still.
Gotcha. Do you have a favorite memory from diving?
Favorite memory?
Or a competition where you remember that you did really well in or anything like that?
Yeah, honestly, even last year was really fun when I got third at that meet, because the senior on the team at that time had gotten first at that meet. Mm-hmm. So we went like 1 and 3, which was cool for like LaSalle diving.
Awesome. Well, that just about wraps it up for this edition of On the Sidelines. I'm going to send it back to myself and Dana on the desk. Blake, thank you.
Thanks.
Well, Tegan.
Hey.
That was a great interview.
It's done.
All right, so when we come back, we will have a visit from a special guest for Explorer Report, so stay tuned. There's plenty of LaSalle sports action this upcoming week. Here's Justice from Tech Girls with this week's Explorer Report.
Thanks, Dana. For this week's Explorer Report, the field hockey team will be battling the VCU Rams at home. The Rams won their first 3 conference games and will be a tough test for the Explorers, who went winless in their first 3 A-10 matchups. The Explorers will have to watch out for VCU's Emily McNamara. The senior is the team's leading scorer and was named A-10 Player of the Week for the 2nd week in a row. She had a hat trick in VCU's 7-2 win over Richmond last week. LaSalle will need a big performance from senior forward Mackenzie Karcher. Karcher had a hat trick against LIU Brooklyn 2 weeks ago. The Explorers will also need a goalie, Emma Provost, to make some major stops against a team that has won 2 of their last 3 road games. The Blue and Gold will take on VCU this Sunday at Hank DeVincent Field. Game time is at 1 p.m. For SportsLine, I'm Tech Girl Justice. Let's go Explorers!
So field hockey is riding the A-10 conference play struggle bus right now. They got to find a way off of it somehow.
That they are, Tegan. They're taking a couple detours around town, and they're just riding the struggle bus.
What are you doing?
For a long time,
hey,
they're riding the struggle
bus.
bus.
Fix my paper as they ride the bus.
All right, so this is where we're at. They're just not. They're not doing great in conference play. So they started out this season strong. They weren't on the struggle bus in the beginning of the season.
No.
They got on the struggle bus when conference play kind of started. They're 0-3 in the conference, and their opponent this week is VCU, who is 3-0 in the conference. They have beaten every team that we've lost to in the conference.
Yeah, that's not a recipe for success.
Yeah, UMass,
yep.
St. Bonaventure,
St. Louis,
and St. Louis.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And not only has VCU beat these teams, they've kind of like blown them out, except for UMass.
Right.
So, and we've kind of gotten blown out by the teams they've beaten. So, long story short, I don't have a lot of confidence in this. There's factors that they've lost a lot of seniors from last year. They're losing in overtime, and they're losing, like, they're not scoring, and it's just all around struggle.
Right. Yeah, and the thing with VCU is their record isn't the greatest, but they didn't play a bunch of softies at the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
kind of like we did. We played a bunch of teams that we could beat up on and hand them a few losses to start our season, give us a little confidence.
Yeah.
But the confidence hasn't really carried into conference play like
Yeah.
they were kind of hoping it would.
Yeah. They have Chapin, who
Right.
we've talked about before, who has, she's been good
Right.
for the Explorers, but not great,
Right.
not what this team needs to pull through. And we have a new coach this year, and I get it, new coaches, they need to rebuild, but they have a lot of the depth that they had in the past years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't really expect this to be that big of a rebuilding year. I guess I was a little wrong about that. I do like the culture that the new coach is bringing. She was previously Broadway. She was the assistant coach at Villanova. And like I said, I do like the culture she's bringing to the team. I've spoken to players who say that they've definitely practiced more, practiced harder. So I'm really hoping that they can pull forward.
Well, that just about wraps it up for us this week. If you can't make it out, oh, I'm sorry, we have picks.
Of course we do. All right. I mean, we pretty much, I think, should know our picks after that.
Oh, man,
Ad lib.
All right, well, I've got VCU beating us 3-1.
I have VCU beating us 4-1, and Isaiah has LaSalle winning.
I don't know why.
By
Sheesh.
3-1. Got that in my notes.
Yeah.
LaSalle, Isaiah is just a very positive person.
Yeah, somebody had to get on the happy train today. The struggle bus and the happy train both coming out to play, and they had their well,
I don't know even what to say.
That just about wraps it up for us this week. If you can't make it out to see the Explorer Report, be sure to tune in next week for our coverage. Keep up with us with this weekend's other sporting events by visiting goexplorers.com or check out this week's edition of the Collegian.
And also check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV and on Twitter at SportsLine LTV. We welcome you to send us your thoughts and suggestions there.
For Stephen, Vin, Isaiah, and our SportsLine team, I'm Tegan Lamont.
And I'm Dana Pecora. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you at the game.